अस्सलाम वालेकुम। पाकिस्तान टेलीविजन सर्विस की जानिब से तारिक अजीज आपसे मुखातिब है। ख़वातीन हज़रात, आज जुमेरात है और नवंबर की 26 तारीख। पाकिस्तान टेलीविजन अपनी नशरियात का आगाज कर रहा है।
यार मिलन दुख जान हजारा शुक्र करा लखवारी पुतन मेरे मखना च हंस के एक पल इधर तकना के नजरा रस नैना दा तकना चल मेरे मखना पुतन मेरे मखना नहीं मैं जाना खेड़िया देखना
मैं जांदी जांदी रुक गई बाऊजी गल मुक गई नशीली है रात हाथों में हार नाचे सितारों के साथ सुंदर बदन ये चंचल दहन नाचे गाए साथ इसको दीवानी
Assalamu alaikum, good evening and welcome to a very special episode of the Classics Show. I am your host Shabnum Riaz. Why is today's episode special? Because today we are celebrating the 53rd anniversary of Pakistan television. And you know, it's such a pleasure to be part of Pakistan television and you know, to have been part of something that is so important, something that's touched all of our lives. For today's programme, of course, we had to have some guests who were iconic in their own right, and they're going to share with us wonderful pieces of history about Pakistan television. So very happy to have with us here today, first of all, Khwaja Najmul Hassan, former director of PTV. Many excellent, highly memorable productions to your name. You've worked with some of the greatest and also introduced so many as well. Thank you for coming here today.
Thank you.
Also, we have Naseer Sahiba, the first face of television in Pakistan, from a family of broadcasting host and broadcaster, and the epitome of elegance, charm and charisma. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
So here today, we're in a festive mood. We're celebrating. There's so much to celebrate, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've done so much that when there is an air of negativity and you hear so much, you know, going on when we're talking about our country, and you come to milestones such as this, that is when you actually realize that, you know, hey, let's sort of be objective for a little while and actually celebrate the things that we have done. Now, if we talk about the early days, the start of Pakistan television, so we are lucky to have with us the person who made that first announcement. Kanwal, take us back in time. Let's rewind those tapes and set the scene for us. Tell us what happened.
Firstly, thank you very much for having us here. And whatever I am, whatever, I don't know, Allah is of course very great, been very, very good and very kind to me. But to start with, the people who mattered and how we started from one little room, one little studio in Lahore, and just one room where from the general manager to the director news to the producers, we all sat together, and then the control room and one studio. Of course, the first day it was anxiousness, it was anxiety, it was maybe not being able to do what they had, the task they have given me.
It was a monumental task.
Yes, and when you had not even been in that studio ever, never seen lights, never seen cameras, you know, so it was a scary moment as well.
Exactly.
But one thing that, and one name that we will always remember till we live, until Pakistan television, of course, may it be forever, is the man who literally led us, you know, taught us the first step, like your parents teach you how to walk. He taught us what it was to be on television, and that was Aslam Azhar Saab. And we, at least I would have been nothing. No, this Fazal Kamal and then later Agha Nasir Saab and everybody. But the first stepping stone was his way of dealing with literally a child, you know, who was still very fresh from college, given her first year exam, going into second year, and who'd how do you bring that child into, now you are exposed, there's so much exposure for everybody, but we were like raw. But he had this great talent of bringing out all the best in you and making you feel that you belonged here and you were going to do everything because this is your house, this is the organization that you should have pride in. So he taught us to be proud of this place and to keep that up, you know. It is like you do for your home. You want to clean it and you want, so we didn't mind picking up things or, you know, doing chores for each other because this was
the sense of, you know, bonding and connectivity and knowing that something was your own. Khwaja Sahib, you as well, you know, you've been able to work with the greatest as well and also introduce many names that are now household names. How were you mentoring them? Because I'm sure that they also look towards you as their guiding spirit.
I joined television in early 70s, in 1974. And Lahore was unlike today. There were not many, it was not, there was no smoke, there was no pollution, there was nothing. It was such a nice, from Charing Cross you could walk up till Shazan without bumping into any other person. And then you can go to television, walking from there. Kanwal lived across the road, in fact, in this restaurant where it was. And I was, in fact, attached with Mrs. Muniza Hashmi and Akhtar Waqar Azim. I was working with Hashmi Saab, Shoaib Hashmi was my teacher in government college. And he was doing at that point in time Sach Cup. Muniza was the producer and she was going on a long maternity leave. Nice. And so I was associated with Sach Cup and then I was associated with Sukhanwar. And that's how I met all the top people. You see, in Sukhanwar, I was recording Amanat Ali Khan. I was recording Nayyara. I was recording Nahid Akhtar came, her first program in Sukhanwar. So that's how I met them. Then I did Talmator with Shoaib Hashmi, and that was a lovely team with Naveed Shahzad and Samina Ahmed and Shoaib Hashmi.
These are all my class.
Yes, all class fellows.
All my class.
Achha, can you imagine a class of 66 of Kanate College? They all came to television.
Imagine the
PTV.
substance.
Yeah, and Aslam Saab just used to take one or two questions ask. What's your name, Ji? My name is Muniza Faz. Your father, Faz Ahmad Faz. What is your name? Ji, I'm Kamal Hamid. And your father, she said, my mother, Mohini Hamid. And he used to take instantly, you see, similarly, 7 other friends of ours and colleagues, Rana Sherwani, Rana Sheikh, who was MD PTV. She was also inducted. Shamim Hilali was Shamim. All Kanate College. They were all Kanate College. And there was a different, in fact, atmosphere. And Aslam Saab used to call by their nicknames, you see, just to make sure that it was like a family. He would say Mizu to Muniza Hashmi. He would say Chimi to Salima Hashmi. He would say Pappi to Shoaib Hashmi. He would say baby to Kanwal. You see, this is how we were treated.
That was the atmosphere and the climate given for you. So, of course, then you're automatically at home. But then when it came to the professional side...
He was so strict. In fact, he will not spare anyone if there's a bad program on air. He will never do that. But at the same time, he will appreciate if you have done good work. And that's how I managed to, in fact, I was allocated to do Tarannum in 81 with Madam Noor Jahan. And I said, has someone talked to her? They said, no, you have to go and talk to her. Okay, I took Farooq
And this
Bashir.
was at a time when you were new?
I was new. I just came from government
And what
college.
a huge task.
Yes.
So in other words, he had instilled in you that confidence.
Yes.
But he had the confidence to take that
go
risk.
and
So he
go to
believed
her.
in you.
Go to her.
Okay.
I went to Madam and I went to her place with Farooq Bashir and we were sitting there for 45 minutes. There came people came and people went away, and after 45 minutes she came down and humming a classical number and coming down. Her house was like a old film, if you have
film
seen
set.
Andaz and Didar.
Indeed,
It was
yes.
exactly like
Okay.
gold and black.
Right.
And two large size portraits of Madam made by her son, Akbar. And then she came down and she was sitting exactly like you and me are sitting, and she was just playing with her toes, and there was this anklets were, and she was just making note tone like this. She said, "Acha, you have come for the program?" I said, "Yes." She said, "What are you going to pay me?" I just took out the contract
Okay.
of 3,000 rupees at
Imagine.
that point in time.
At that time,
Gave it to her.
okay.
She laughed and she said, "Edesh te meri lipstick bhi nahi aandi." You know, Najm, I'm charging 18,000 for a
Per
song.
song,
She
okay.
was. And I take...
So what were your feelings at that moment when she
Nothing.
said that?
She was
You
just
thought-
laughing. She knew me also. But then she said, "Okay, I'll do it on one condition." I said, "What?" She signed the contract there.
Okay.
3,000 she agreed to do for 4 songs and a complete program. And she said, if I see myself on the monitor or on the tape, first take, if it's not good, I'm just going to leave the studio.
Okay.
I agreed.
Right.
Okay, the first
She
take,
could never look bad.
Acha, she came and she put that was at that point in time we were color, and she just put the monitor in front of her. And there was this test take, and she said, "Will you please call the chief cameraman?" He
Okay.
came.
Okay.
She said,
She wasn't happy with that.
yes, she said, "Look, I have a double chin. You should have given a shadow this side so that it doesn't show the
So
double
much
chin.
technical knowledge.
And put a light, a spotlight just on my eyes." I said, "Why, madam?" She said, "Eyes are the window to the soul. If you," and she used to scan people like that. She
Right.
looked at me like this into my eyes and say yes or no. And she'd never
Amazing.
asked my credentials. She didn't ask me where I am from. She just looked at me and she said, "I'm going to do this program."
She was a very loving person.
Yes.
She had worked with my mother in the radio when she used to come right, pre-partition. And she used to come from Kasur to sing. So all her life, whenever I met her, anywhere in the world, she would call me Mohini ki beti. Mohini didi,
Come here.
come here. She never ever called me by my name.
Okay.
So she was that kind of person,
Right,
very
right.
warm, very loving, and
Shabnam Madam's aura, her larger than life image, that made a perfect success story. You see, she was such a great
I mean, you're people who've met her, you're people who know her, the people who have just seen her camera
Listen, there
presence.
were 9 kings and queens. Can you imagine? Nowhere in the world there are 9 kings and queens of music. Now, king of Qawwali, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, in one frame, in one time, and Mehdi Hassan, king of Ghazal.
Ghazal.
Queen of music, Roshan Ara. Queen of melody, Noor Jahan. Queen of Ghazal, Farida Khan. Queen of Ghazal, Iqbal Bano. And Queen of Sufi music,
Aftab Parveen.
7 people in one frame.
This is
Look
all
at the
Pakistan
television. This is Pakistan
This is
television we have
Pakistan
done.
television
Yes.
is given.
And I've worked with everyone.
As
I've
I
been
said.
very lucky to work with all of them because I was part of their programs. And then Tufail Niazi was there the first day. We're talking about the 60s now, the beginning.
Right.
And
Okay.
he came, and when he started to sing in the studio, I said, this person is not scared of the camera at all. Why? And just after 54 years, I realized when I was doing a program the other day for radio and went into research was because he used to do melas and he used to tell stories. He used to have narrative and drama, and he himself used to be the hero, like Heer Ranja, Soni Mahiwal. So he had that, that thing about him that he was not scared. He used to bring that into his songs. And he was the first person who sang live on Pakistan television the first day. Now we had a problem because we had no commercials. So if somebody didn't come, I would, Farooq Zamir's mother was an English-speaking lady. She would do the program. I would translate it into Urdu. It's a cooking program. And then run back into the studio to make an announcement, And
That was huge multitasking.
Kanwal was like a jack of all. If somebody didn't turn up, like Maslauddin or Nahid
Nahid Niazi
Niazi,
didn't
she
turn
would
up.
just sit on the baja and sing
Really?
with the
Take the
students.
children's
With the
program. You see,
children's
so that is the way how we shared everything.
Exactly. And the most important thing is, what you're talking about right now is teamwork and having each other's backs.
Yes.
And thinking that, okay, this was supposed to go on air. This isn't happening now. How can I save the show? How can I work towards making everything okay? So teamwork. How do we develop that? How do we get people to come together on such a platform?
You see, we were all like-minded. Saira was my colleague, Saira Kazmi. Shireen Pasha, the best documentary producer.
yes.
We were together in one room. Farooq Bashir, he was my roommate. Shoaib Mansoor, he was my roommate. And then Rana Sheikh, she was my roommate. Then Muniza Hashmi, she was my boss. And Kanwal, she was my anchor. And so many times when she left and she was, in fact, got married, I went to her place, I dragged her for a program, and her husband was petrified. He said, why? I said, don't worry, you look after you, babysit, and we are going.
That's quite an achievement.
Yes, I did twice. Can you imagine? With Nayera, twice she left singing. I just dragged her, and I fought with her husband, Cher. He's a very dear friend. Similarly with Tina Sani also.
Okay.
But they listen to me. Even now, till yesterday, I just barge into their rooms and I shout and I say, come on, let's do, and they will never say
You don't know
no.
what he did to me when we are doing, just recently doing Raat Chaliye Jhumke, coming today. He yells at me from there. And about yelling, I'll tell you, now Mizu and I grew up together.
Yes,
We were kids, we played together because our house was right across the road from Radio Pakistan. And we used to play all day and we used to spend a lot of time together. But when she became GM Lahore and asked me to do Khawateen time, and I said, Mizu, it's live for 2 hours and I have to fly into Lahore and then do this 2 hours. And but whenever she thought I was doing wrong, like the tempo, she'd yell, babe, tempo gir gaya. She'd forget. But that's
She
the
was
way
a very
we work.
hard task.
Very hard task.
Even now, till yesterday, I was doing this Abda Parveen for this anniversary, and she was of course, she was holding this, and she was shouting. I said, please sit down. Ma'am, sit down. Just relax. It's going to be okay.
But
It'll be all right in the night.
That was work.
We are the, yes.
That's exactly what it's all about. And it's fascinating to be able to listen to all this because the atmosphere that you've created and told us about it fills you with so much joy and satisfaction that when great minds and people with great potential come together and are on the same wavelength, there's so much that they can achieve.
I'll tell you one thing. In fact, what happened was that Aslam Saab, he allocated 2 programs to me. I was doing Tarannum and at the same time, I was doing Qawwali also and a folk program. He said, you have to, Najam, find a new folk singer every month. We have to search around for, you see, this is how we discovered Reshma, this is how we discovered Arif
What
Lohar.
a name.
You see?
Reshma, oh yes.
So now people don't go around and find
That
people.
is so true. That is exactly one of the main problems. Absolutely true.
These people, when he's my producer, he's my producer. We're dearest friends, but when he's a producer, I have to ask him.
Exactly.
And I go back to him. We never feel bad, we've been there, I've seen 54 years, they've all come after me. No. Before Khawateen time, I called up Zia Muhyiddin Saab, who's been a contemporary of my mother. And I said, I'm very scared because this is live. And there's just 2 words he said to me. He said, even today, when I do a program, go on stage, the first 5 seconds, even I am scared. So then I said, if he is scared, who am I?
Exactly. And then
so if I'm anxious, it's all right.
Absolutely true. Okay. Now I wanted to talk about, because we'll keep coming back to, the 60s and 70s. We'll deviate from there and then we'll come back to the current as well. So wherever we find, something that's in connection with that, we'll talk about that as well. That time, broadcasting was a very serious business.
Yes.
It was not just a profession, it was passion. People with passion were coming forward. People who knew that while they are taking airtime, they are representing themselves. They are representing a part of them and they're connecting the country. If we look at the scenario that we have today, we have news, infotainment, entertainment. It seems as though the news side of television has become this huge blur where we're not sure of who's a broadcaster, who's actually there. Are they delivering the news or screaming out the news? Or what's going on? What's happening?
Please.
as a broadcaster
Yes.
and somebody who also teaches, have taught at the academies, both PTV and radio mostly, and because I have a radio background. So we were taught that the one thing wrong you do is to raise your voice. You have to come in full voice, that you can use the levels. But you never make a statement which starts here and the graph goes there. You know, Aaj Fulan Prime Minister has gone to China, or the, you know, and I mean, you've made it a sing-song, and then everybody follows suit, you know. It's a statement. Your stress and pause can do that, but it's not drama. You have to differentiate between news reading and drama.
Exactly.
Two different genres.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's totally different.
Training is very, very important.
Very important.
Also,
We had, in fact, Shaista.
of course, an
she was the
institution in
best.
herself.
Tariq Rahim. They were excellent. And Eddie.
Eddie.
Edward also. Yes. Naveed
Naveed
Shahzad used to be
Shahzad,
news.
Idris.
Aslam Saab, Muhammad Idris used to.
Idris.
And look at the cultural background.
Yes.
And this, they were all well read.
Oh, yes.
Even
They were
up till
done.
Rahat Kasmi.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not just looks.
Of
Looks can't
course.
carry you for so long, you know.
And in a certain medium, they may.
know.
But when we're talking about television, that's total whole package. Exactly.
That's it.
as you're saying.
Shabnam, we
Yes.
had, in fact, a tagline of television, like entertainment, information, and education. These were the three. And Aslam
Such
Saab used to say that we follow BBC.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened during these 10, 15 years. We deviated from that and we followed the other channels. We copied them. We shouldn't have done that
That's
at all.
very true. That's very true.
If you're talking about BBC today, they don't have beauty queens reading the
In
news.
fact, quite the opposite. You will have people who are, you know,
Who know the job.
presentable,
Who know the job.
but they have this charisma,
Charisma.
which is not a sort of a, you know, coming from excessive makeup or accessories or whatever. You can see that behind that presentable personality that is in front of you, there is so much that they know and experience as well. Why are we so influenced with, you know, somebody younger should be coming in, whereas if you look around the world, if you look at CNN, if you look at BBC, if you look at many major news networks, you will see that not only their news presenters, also their anchors and hosts for various television shows have been carrying on for decades and decades, and the public loves them.
Yes.
So
But we also must see the brighter side, that most of the channels who now have good anchors or good newscasters have come from Pakistan television. You know?
absolutely, that is one of the most
Yeah.
important. Yes, exactly. That's true.
Like in the beginning, they came from radio, but radio news in those days used to be from Karachi.
All the actors also came from the radio.
All of the
Uzma Gilani,
Uzma,
Ruhi
Kavi.
Bano, Kavi, Khalda Riyasat,
Khalda
they're
Riyasat.
all from radio. Look
They
at their
all come-
voice,
Oh.
the pitch, the
So
voice.
in other words, you know, people sort of don't realize the importance of voice, delivery, and command of the language.
Three things. Vocabulary,
Vocabulary.
most important for an anchor. Most important thing is. And then their breath. You know, they don't
Yes.
have any breathing exercise. I mean, there's some technicalities also to broadcasting.
Of course,
You know?
which are timeless.
Yes, of course. You have to hold your breath. You have to learn to keep your, you know, breathing right. The same goes for drama. Then the stress pause comes correct when you breathe right. So, you know, these are things that should be taught in Pakistan television, being the place. The academy should work towards that. And I think we would do
In
wonders.
fact, in '84, I was transferred to PTV Academy, Shoaib Mansoor, myself, and Rana. And in fact, '84 was the first television, producers from news and current affairs. We groomed them for 6 months, and some of them were good, some of them were not good in programming also. So I think something went wrong after '80s. Late 80s, we lost so many things. Like, for example, as I told you, the tagline was gone and we were aping the other. In 2000, the things became worse in television because there was not many trained people. All of them left. Some retired. Some died. You see, this is how it happened. And even Aslam Saab, he was, when he retired, I went to his place about 5 years before. He had the same Volkswagen, which he had, the red Volkswagen. I was so depressed to see his house being the whitewash with so many days. I think it was not done there. And he was sitting there just sipping tea with me, and I was so disturbed to see that man.
He didn't own a house till he
Even
passed
now.
away.
The
They don't
passion.
have.
The passion.
This is the passion speaking. Again, it depends on the mindset. Who is approaching what job whatsoever with what angle? A person who's
Well, now let's say we spread out. We've got lots of channels. PTV itself has so many channels, right? But the head of the organization should have a one-to-one with the performers, like, you know, who are going to be there. Because that's what keeps you together. That's what builds, gives you initiative. That's what gives you strength. That's what gives you confidence. That's what gives you loving that organization, wanting to do it not just for commercialism. You know?
We used to have awards. We used to have workshops. It was the first award I remember, Shalimar Award in awards in 1975, when Saira Kazmi got the best director award, actress award. And Hasina Mohini. It started from there, and then in 81 we started this awards. It was like a get-together of all the producers, the actors, the singers. They were all together.
And it created this harmony, you know. Because I remember I was a recipient of an award as well, so I remember the feeling. It was just so. It was so wonderful. It was as though, you know, it was though.
The last award I remember I produced that. It was in 2012. It's almost now 5 years.
Yes, 5 years.
So there's, I don't think there's any workshops at the academy now for the producers. It should have, they should have been doing. And I just saw a few producers working at the moment, and the private productions are just going on. I'm against it. I'm sorry.
Is everything nearly about money then now?
Yes, I used to get 1,600 rupees when I joined television. It was more than enough for me, you see. We used to go out with Madam Noor Jahan for dinners, with Farida Khanum, with Mehdi Hassan, Farooq Bashir, myself, but it never ended. The money never finished.
Barkat was there.
Barkat was there.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yes.
Because now if you see on a scale, okay, we'll talk about inflation as well, but in a scale we're earning more as compared to that. Yes, inflation has its role. Then why isn't it enough now? Are we all living beyond our means? What's happening? Have we set so high targets that enough is never enough?
Shabnam, till 2002, Tina Sani, Nayera, for 1 hour live, Meri Pasand, they were getting 3,000 rupees. And they were happy. They never said anything about it. They just used to take the check and go away.
Right.
But now I believe people are saying that they refuse to come because you give them little money.
Yes.
It's not
Yeah,
money at all.
everybody has a manager.
Yes, everybody has
Anybody
a manager.
you call, talk to my manager.
Right.
Now, talk to that manager thing. You ring up Farida Appa today, she picks up the phone.
Noor Jahan used to pick up herself.
Farida Khanum picks up
She
the
was
phone
a-
herself.
Yes.
Right.
You know, if she's God forbid unwell, her daughter will answer you, you know. But here you want to invite anybody to a show or to a program, you talk to their manager. And then you're dealing
Kamal,
with money
with
and
me,
with money.
it's
and
slightly
with money.
different because this is the third generation I'm working with. I'm still working and with them.
आपके कहे
with
पे सब आ
Shafqat
जाते हैं.
and I just asked them to come.
That's also
yeah,
a
please
valid
don't
point.
get because we don't pay so much. I
Yeah.
told that in 1981 to Madam Noor Jahan that we can only pay 3,000 to you, and she
Yes.
agreed.
Yes.
If you convince them, I think even now they can, but
They can.
you have to raise some sort of an.
It's also a lot about the person who's representing
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
forum is being taken forward, because that is, as you said, as you know, we're mentioning again and again, Aslam Azhar Sahab, you know, that he had that persona that showed other people that he was leading by example, basically. So when we see people with that passion and they're leading by example, that is what is so addictive, actually, isn't it?
Yes.
And
He kept that, his short coat with the band, his pipe, you know, and he drank very watery tea. But I think his wife Nasreen also played a very big role because when we were there, when I was there, now I was the only girl. So they would, his car would pick up, it was a two-colored Opel Rekord in beige and brown. And they would pick me up and they would drop me.
Right.
They would drop all of us. They would drop Tariq and Kamal Saab
Yes,
because they had to
Kamal,
have their
Fazil
food
Kamal.
on the corner of Beedon Road because they could go and have their dinner. Then they drop me and then go home. So, you know, there was a lot of togetherness.
Acha, in that point in time, in fact, as I told you, Saira,
That's his badge.
Rana, and Shirin Pasha, and Tanveer Masood, Khalda Mazhar,
what names.
even Kanwal. Acha, we never heard of male harassment or something. We were all together. It was like a family. Till morning we used to be together, working and laughing and having tea and whatever. But I don't think things have changed exactly now. What happened?
Yes, exactly. That is a question that demands a
Yes.
lot of answers and a
Yes.
lot of, you know, you want to know that why is it that you can be, as you have just described, such a beautiful, nurturing, positive environment? You know, what happened to make relationships, the sanctity of relationships,
Yes.
the professional environment of working in that and creating a limit and boundaries? Why has that?
I don't. In fact, Saira Kazmi and Muniza Hashmi used to broom the set because at night about
Imagine.
at 1 o'clock there was no in fact somebody to clean, so she used to stand and people used to call her Saab ji. They used to salute Saira Kazmi and say they never thought she's a woman. Yes,
She's going to take that. That's true.
and she did
It's
some
hard.
wonderful programs.
Oh, yes.
Her plays like in fact up till Zebonisa. She
she's a
did
great
the
girl.
most wonderful things.
Now, because you see, when they came for rehearsals, Rahat and Saira, that time we'd moved to Pindi and we were in those barracks.
Yes.
That lawn used to be full. Now, it did not happen that drama artist was not friendly with the anchors or the announcer. Like Salma Beg was like a daughter to me, literally. And when Ubaid, he was doing Kasauti in Karachi.
Yes.
But when he came, it was like Ubaid had been my brother all his life or was born with me, you know. So that kind of, I think, mutual respect for each other.
Respect. I think that is
was
the key
basic.
word. Respect there. Okay, you mentioned Kasauti, a very, very phenomenal program.
phenomenal.
You know, that was something that just it was on so many facets. It was
Oh, yes.
amazing.
Amazing.
It was. At the same time, it was getting everybody involved, and at the same time, it was so educational, informative. So what are we doing? You know, when you have this debate with people, and they say that, you know, why complain? We're just churning out the things that the audience wants. Okay, so let's talk about the audience of 60s and 70s, and let's go to 80s as well. Has the audience of the 2000s, 2017, has it changed so much?
I don't think so.
No.
I think we shouldn't have changed our formats.
Why did people look at a science program
Yes, science
that
program.
Professor Laik was
Laik
doing?
Saab was
Because
doing.
it was Professor Laik. You know,
True.
that mattered.
People could relate to them, you see. To Shoaib Hashmi when he was doing
Oh,
Tal
yes.
Matol, to Laik Saab who was
Wonderful.
doing science programs. Similarly, Muhammad Idris was doing Studio One. So many other good.
When they were
in
doing
fact,
university
anchors and
programs, you know,
university programs.
and everybody who was, you know, bright and brilliant came to them.
You know, Tahira Sayyed, she came first time from Convent of Jesus and Mary. She appeared in Muhammad Idris students program. She came for a song.
Shabnum Abba.
Yes.
She came to the university program.
Nayyara came and
Nayyara
then,
came to the
yes.
university program. So there was like educative programs and people watched them and people wanted to participate. Look at the young singers we produced. Why should we miss out on the music directors?
Absolutely.
You know? Khalil Ahmed, Suhail Rana, Nahid Niazi and Musliuddin.
You see, when I joined television, they were all new. Nahid had just arrived. Mehnaz had just arrived. Nayyara was she was there. And so was, who else? Tina Sani. She was there. She came later and worked with us. Like she used to, we are sitting together, she's making a tune, or Arshad Mahmood is making a tune and she's listening. Okay, Nayyara, you have to do this. And Tina, you have, it was like a family, all of us.
So, you know, basically, we're also talking about this, that the character of every individual, that character, those moral values, those set of, you know, the set of values that a person took into everything they did that represented themselves, those were also the things speaking later on in their profession and in their passion. And that's also the glue that held everyone together.
There was no divide.
There was no difference.
There was no divide.
There was no discontent.
Oh, there was no discontent.
You see a
there
lot
was
of
no divide.
discontent. Why do we see, I mean, right now we're talking about Pakistan television as well, but of course wherever anything comes in towards, you know, the conversation, discontent in a nation. Okay, how much of the media's responsibility is there in setting that temperature?
It is, I think, the responsibility of the media in spreading these kind of violence and all. You see, they have taken us into their, you see, all the, don't forget that who are they? Those who are running the channels. Somebody has an oil company, somebody's a fan they had. And look at their background. Please look at their background and look at the people, the anchors who are coming these days on television. They're shouting at the top of their voice, although there's a mic around here.
Yeah. And in fact,
Somebody has
your
to teach
voice
them.
will be more heard
Yes.
the lower you go. Because even if you have an experiment where you have about 10 people, if all of them are shouting, in the end, you're just going to tune them out. And the person who speaks the lowest will actually be the one that you think, okay, now this person has something to say. Why are we becoming so loud?
Now you're a
Symbolically
host. What does host mean in Urdu? It means Mizban. Huh?
Mizban.
So you invite somebody, like you invite Najm and myself, and then you want to be rude with us.
Not only that, the host wants to monopolize the conversation. I mean, I don't understand the point of asking a 15-second question or even a minute question and then giving your guest just a little time to answer that question, whereas you have your own. Oh, but wait a minute, I think this is then don't, you know, that is very true.
That happens. That's happening a lot.
Yeah.
And,
Okay, so like I said, we're back to the first day of television. I'm back there again.
Come to the first play.
And your first announcement.
And we
Can you
first
please
of
tell
all, we
us
want to hear your first
Yes.
announcement. Then you'll tell us about the first play.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Noman says that I had made a sports announcement somewhere, which I don't recollect, but I must have. Was a table tennis match or something that was happening at Trophy. But when we came to the studio, I had to say, because this was an NEC, Nippon Electrica, it was a pilot station. So on behalf of them, because later, after 3 months, it became Pakistan Television. And I said, on behalf of NEC, I congratulate all of you that Mubarak ho, aaj Pakistan mein television aa gaya.
Wow.
You know, and then I was about to faint.
Please tell us about your feelings, you know, just before you were going to go on air and afterwards and you know, so.
I had Aslam Saab and Fazal Kamal standing behind me, but behind the camera were these huge people that I had never seen. President Ayub and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Sahab and Shoaib Sahab and the governor, Aamir Muhammad Khan, huge moustache, standing right next to the lens across the glass. For a little kid to go, you know, go and to look into the lens, they said, look into the lens where the light is on. And here I have all of these people there, you know. So I don't know how I did not pass out or something right there. But that was
and then when it was,
moment.
okay, while you were taking on this task, did you really actually at that time realize what a historic moment it was? Or were you sort of downplaying it so that you wouldn't get too nervous, or what was going on?
After that, I went and said to Aslam, I can't do this, you know. I won't be able to do this. So we had this long walk from the radio ka gate to TV, and he would take us on these, what would you say, motivational walks. And he said, well, you know, you'll be part of history of this country. When you tell a kid that, you know, you feel okay. Once I went to him and all these nice looking girls came, Nayyar Kamal came and Shamimo came and Samina Ahmed came and all these girls came. So I went to him and I said, Aslam, I'm not going to do this because they're all so good looking, you know. I was a child, I was very vain. And I had a mole here. And I said, look, they're so beautiful. And I'm not going to do this. So he again took me for his walk. And he said, ki dekho, people get tired of perfect faces. So they're not going to get tired of you. I think he said it just to keep my morale high.
Sense of
She
humor
came
as
as
well.
a college girl, and we all celebrated her marriage. You see, PTV not only produced actors, and we produced love,
Families as well.
romantic pairs also.
Families
You
as
see,
well,
romantic from, let's start from Aslam Azhar to Nasreen, and Fazal Kamal to Nayyar Kamal, Saira and Rahat,
Yes.
and then Samina and Usman, and then
Shoaib and
Naeem and
Chimi.
Shoaib and
and
Salima,
Right.
and then Usman and Samina.
Samina,
And then this, who else? There was another very...
Salma
Yasmin
Nobair,
and
Yasmin Appa,
Naeem
Naeem
Tahir.
Tahir.
Right.
We made
Amazing,
12, 15
amazing.
love
Yeah.
romantic pairs
That's
from
great.
television.
And
television.
me from one of
And
their friends.
we celebrated everybody's wedding.
Fantastic. I mean,
With joy now.
It's so heartening to hear all this, you know,
Yes.
because I think that's what a person, the human soul yearns for this.
Yes.
Yearns for connectivity, yearns for a home. You know, if you think of all the creative things we do, it's basically a form of our passion as well, our expression to achieve something that we're really not sure about. We know we want something, we know we want to achieve it, and then when you actually have that moment, then you understand, okay, this is what I
You
want
will
to
never
do.
believe New Year party at
Aslam.
Aslam Saab's, where we were all there. There were so many gate crashes when he was there. And we loved it. Till 4 o'clock we used to laugh and used to enjoy
Pie और निहारी के बाद.
pie and nihari.
Nashta.
Used to have after.
Right, fantastic.
Is it possible to have it now?
It seems
Can
that,
you ever
know,
imagine?
it seems there's so many differences that we're spending all that time reconciling those
television.
differences, you know, and so even if we have a get together or something, you unfortunately see a couple of people getting out of tune and then you're worried about them, you know, and so tolerance is also a big thing. Okay, we're going to come back to this. I want to ask you, Khwaja Saab, because I remember this very vividly. When I was not living in Pakistan at that time, I was in England, growing up there, and somebody bought on a VCR a tape, and they said, you know, there's some really nice songs here, let's have a look at this, it's just come from Pakistan. And so we were all very interested, and we put that on, and they were Musarrat Naseer ke Shaadi Biyah ke Gaane.
Yes.
Okay, and we all looked at them, and I remember this so well, and everybody just delighted in them. And especially when you're living abroad, you miss, you know, your country so much more, and so everything that comes from there is taken on a sort of more, it's treasured, you know. Okay, this is from Pakistan. Those songs were amazing.
चिट्टा कुकड़ बने रहते, चिट्टा कुकड़ बने रहते, आसनी दुपट्टे वाली मुंडा सदके तेरे थे, आसनी दुपट्टे वाली मुंडा सदके तेरे थे.
Tell us about the magic behind that.
Okay. Musarrat, in fact, and Arshad Bhai, her husband, they came from Canada in 1982, and they brought a long play, Musarrat's Horizon, entitled. And there was a lovely photograph of Musarrat, was beautiful, in fact.
Very.
And her high cheek and her teeth, beautiful.
Oh, yes.
And she came and she said, I have recorded this, and I listened to them. There was this beautiful Jogi Uttar Pahadon Aaya. Charkhe di Kook Sun Ke. Beautiful songs, beautiful song. It was done in Canada, and she brought the long play. So then I was transferred to Academy in '84, and then she came again, and she said, can we do something together? I'm here. I
Okay.
said, let's do Shaadi Biyah Ke Geet. In Punjabi.
Where did you get this idea from?
Because she used to sing on radio. Kamal can vouch.
She used to sing on radio.
In 1955.
She used to wear a burqa and come
she
to
used to-
Radio Pakistan. I've seen her.
And she used to sing these songs, you see.
Okay, so they were still in
Charkha karda, like these songs, you see.
Okay.
And then I noticed, I said, this voice is perfect for Shaadi Biyah Ke, just with dholak. Her daughters were there. Nayyar Kamal's daughter. I just
He
dragged
brought
them
all
to
of
tell.
them. We
I
all
brought
gave him
them
our children.
every, in fact, Kanwal's, Nayyar,
Nayyar.
and then
Their
Husna's
class
and his
fellows
class,
and-
all the
Okay.
CB,
Put them there and-
the ICG, I brought them, I said, look, you have to come and do this program. So they all came. Acha, when I finished this was about 40 minutes or 35 minutes. And when the general manager that point in time, Rawalpindi, he just saw, he said, what is Mathe Te Chamkanwal? I said, you will never understand. Let it go on air first. So it went on air and it was telecast 3 times that night. It was an election.
Oh,
85.
yeah.
And then you can imagine,
Oh,
she
yes.
was on the top, Musarrat. Then she sang Long Gavacha.
Oh, yes.
Same Long
Another one.
Gavacha.
Yes.
And again, very popular. Now she
Yes,
left and now she's settled in Canada. She never came back after that.
Right. Again, you know, what is life, you know, because we did a program on the classics and just a recent one, and in it was a quote that the universe is not made up of atoms, the universe is made up of stories.
Yes.
And are we not all a story at our own individual levels? And in the end, all our stories actually just come together and they interconnect somewhere or the other. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but before we go, we will have a message for our viewers. So, Kamalapa, you please, you know, we want to hear some words of wisdom. I know it's a bit hard to do that all of a sudden
I'm
without
not
any
very
warning,
wise,
you know.
but,
How do you carry yourself? Because as I said, you're the epitome of, you know, charm and grace. And
thank you
what
so
is it that puts a person aside? And how can you believe in yourself and make things work? Things are not always going to go according to as we wish.
Right. Shabnum, the first thing is have confidence in yourself. And then secondly, never envy anybody, because what God
So
has to
true.
give you, nobody else can take away.
So true.
I believe in that.
That is
You know?
amazing. And that is one of those sources of contentment. What is up?
Shabnam, I'm writing a book, Stars from Another Sky, about all these people we just discussed.
Fantastic.
And one thing, just one small message, that you should have patience to listen to what you are saying. We should have patience. We don't have patience anymore.
So
We
true.
don't listen to people.
On every level, because
Yes,
then we
every
also forget the art of conversation is not just speaking, it's listening to
Listening
the other person
also.
as well.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Khwaja Najmul Hassan Saab and Gabal Naseer Saab. Thank you so much for being a part of today's celebrations. Pakistan Television reaching 53 years. It's an amazing time, and you know, you've all been part of that history. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for asking
Thank
us.
you.
Okay, so we've come to the end of a very, very special program. We've had so much fun. A memory back in time. In fact, I'm stuck there right now as well. I'm sure you will be when you watch this program. Okay, until next week, stay happy. Bye-bye.